Scott, you're going to be over here when we look at you.
Yeah, I'll walk behind the camera over there.
Okay.
Yeah, I walk right. Okay, thank you, Kevin and Danielle, for coming on to being here at Astronomical League's convention, the 2022 edition, and here in Albuquerque. You guys are both here exhibiting, and I think that's great. And so, are you giving presentations, or I know you're here to talk about Lowell Observatory? So
yeah, our main thing here is to be at the exhibit area and talk about what we do at Lowell. And there's so many changes going on, and we want to be able to share that. And then Danielle will be speaking for a few minutes, kind of an overview of what Lowell Observatory is doing.
okay,
and maybe you can.
Yeah, without
say
giving
what
the
that
whole
is.
presentation, can you kind of
Yeah,
give us a
sure.
sneak peek here?
As one of the sponsors for Alcon 2022, we're giving a short 5-minute talk about what's new at Lowell.
Okay.
Of course, people are well familiar with Pluto and the Clark telescope and whatnot, but we're going to be speaking about the Giovanni Open Deck Observatory, which is over here. It's this beautiful
I'll
new.
show these images here in a minute.
Yep.
So we'll do a cutaway.
It's a wonderful public observing plaza with 6 amazing telescopes. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Astronomy Discovery Center, which is what's coming next in 2024.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's learn a little bit about each of you. Kevin, I know you from some of the live broadcasts we've done together. I know you head up a lot of the outreach. I know you from that side of it, but tell us more.
Right. Well, since you do know me, I appreciate you still inviting me to talk here. So thanks for that. And I've been at Lowell for 27 years, and I managed the outreach program for years, but now I work on the marketing side with Danielle, who's the head of our marketing effort.
Fantastic.
And so the historian, and so document and write about a lot of our history. And then public relations also, kind of work on that part of it.
Well, I know you know a lot about the history and stuff. I mean, just the talks you've given were so enriching, We did the Pluto camera, I think,
Right.
at one time, showed the plate, and
Yeah, we did that from inside the dome.
yeah, that was totally cool. It was totally cool.
Yeah, there's so much heritage there. And for me, it's exciting because, there's the discovery of Pluto and the first evidence of the redshift and Percival Lowell's canals and such.
Mhm.
But our astronomers today are building on that foundation. So all that great historic stuff is great on its own, but it's the foundation for what's happening with our Lowell Discovery Telescope. And, the future is even more exciting than the past because what's going to happen next?
Right.
It's great for us to be able to talk about it.
All right. Yeah. And how about you?
At Lowell Observatory, I'm the Chief Marketing and Revenue Officer.
Okay.
So
Very
I
important,
Yep.
to keep the sustainability of Lowell, going. So
Exactly. Yeah. And so, it's working on marketing and communications efforts to communicate our science, but also bringing people into the observatory and, getting people to come for a visit and, get to experience the awe and wonder of the universe with their own eyes in a beautiful dark sky site, as Flagstaff is.
right.
And so that's, by job title, that's what I do. The doctor part comes from
Yeah, I
my
wondered
research,
about that. Okay.
where I am a cultural astronomer, and so
Oh, wow.
my focus is on indigenous Arabian astronomy, and I connect those old Arabic star names to the modern ones we use today. So things like Zubin al-Janubi, which is the most fun name to say.
Yeah.
You know, where does that come from? Why is it
Like
so long? You know?
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious
Exactly.
or something.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I mean, you're both at Lowell. I mean, how do you feel about being there? I mean, is it like, is this your dream job to have? I mean,
Well, I told you, I've been there 27 years.
yeah.
And when we have a film crew come in, or, you know, news or whatever, I'll take them into the telescope dome, and I still take pictures of the telescopes because
Yeah.
it's still cool after 27 years.
yeah.
I mean, I think we're getting paid for this.
Yeah.
Really? Is there a trick here somewhere?
Don't let your bosses hear this.
Yeah. So, you know,
this is
it's
cool.
something, you know, Lowell's a place where you can throw everything into it, and it's so satisfying. And to be able to, you know, as a nerd, it's really interesting, but to be able to share that and get other people excited about it, there's so much satisfaction in that. And so it's, if you're not into this, I don't know if you have a pulse.
Right. I would agree with that. And how many people come to Lowell to visit each year? You probably know that number.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to say now on this side of COVID, but before COVID, we were seeing just over 100,000 guests per year.
Wow.
So, and, you know, a lot of school groups doing field trips. You know, we have a really strong education mission in addition to our research mission. So, you know, our hope is to grow that more and more. You know, it's been, of course, a struggle through COVID, like
Sure.
everyone has had. But we're seeing that come back up and seeing people return to the observatory.
Okay, great. I'm gonna cut away to another camera view so we can see a couple of these images and you guys can describe it. So give me a second. Okay. So first, I guess the first thing to look at here is the Kemper and Ethel Marley Foundation Astronomy Discovery Center. This is the new thing you guys are building, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, that's right here in front of us. This is a elevation plan of what we're actually building right now. Walls are going up and they're quite tall right now. This is going to be a 40,000 square foot science center focused on astronomy. And we're going to tell the story of you from the Big Bang to having dinner with friends. And we're going to talk about where your atoms have been and the journey they've taken. And it's really going to be incredible. There's some.
I love the way that you describe that because, you know, we are made of star stuff, you know.
We
But
are.
people don't think that way.
Yeah.
They normally don't anyways, so.
Yep.
Yep.
And there'll be some really unique features. In this image, you can see on the top is this 180-seat dark sky planetarium. There's no dome. We're using the famously dark skies of Flagstaff as a natural planetarium dome.
Yeah.
Yep. With laser pointers. The seats are heated because it's Flagstaff and it gets cold. We're at 7,250 feet. And so, yeah, 2,000 feet higher than Denver. And so, you know, we want to keep people comfortable as they're experiencing the night sky. Oftentimes when people come to Lowell, it's the first time they've seen the Milky Way with their own eyes. And it, you know,
Yeah, like 80% of the world's population.
It's astounding how high it
Yes.
is. Yeah.
The Milky Way.
Yeah.
Which is, wow.
yeah.
This is great.
And then inside we'll have some other things. We'll have exhibit halls, one just for kids with lots of interactivity. We'll have this universe theater with a giant LED screen that
And when
you
you
will.
say universe theater, this is not a planetarium. So how
Right.
is it different?
Sure. So this will have a vertical screen, but
Okay.
it's curved and it wraps around you. And so instead of being a planetarium dome, it's a curved kind of like a cylinder
So it still
type
draws
screen.
you into the experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, still immersive, but it allows us to be a bit more flexible without the distortions that the actual planetarium dome can provide. And it'll be LEDs, not projections. So we'll have the true blacks to
wow.
complement what our live educators are talking about. So, you know, we could have a talk about Mars and Percival Lowell's, you know, research into the famous canals of Mars, right?
Sure.
And we can put you on the surface of Mars as we're talking about that right alongside the modern Percy,
Right.
the rover we have there. So yeah, it's going to be a really amazing place. And there's lots more that I'll fill up your whole 10 minutes here just talking
I'm
about
sure
that.
you could. I mean, but just seeing kind of that outdoor seating, heated seats and stuff like that,
Mhm.
looking up at the sky. There's a couple of places that are like that, but this is, I think, very unique.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've only seen part of the building going up. I was there
Mhm.
a few weeks ago for the Carolyn Shoemaker deal, you know, tribute. But I'm anxious to see this. When do you guys think that this will finish?
2024.
2024.
So, you know, we're 2 years out, so we
Yeah.
don't have a month yet. Depends on, you know, availability of materials and delays, you know, ongoing from COVID,
Sure.
but some point in 2024.
Okay.
And I think I was going to just mention one of the things I think that's fascinating about this is, you know, this is a world-class facility
Yeah.
to excite people about astronomy, but it's also based on the fact that we're a research facility with this long heritage of research,
That's right. It's still going on.
and it's still
Mhm.
going on, and that's stronger than ever with one of the world's most powerful telescopes, and so this heritage of cutting-edge research for 130 years, plus our founder Percival Lowell said, you know, what's the point of doing it if we don't share it with people?
Right.
We want to make everybody co-discoverers.
What a
of this.
visionary. I mean,
Yeah,
that guy
and
was,
this is
so,
and this
yeah.
is this is the result of that. So, you know, to be able to be part of this and think that we can reach people around the world,
Right.
it's pretty exciting.
And you will. You absolutely will.
Mhm.
And then behind us over here is the Giovanni
Open Deck Observatory.
Open Deck Observatory.
Mhm.
Now, I've seen that. I've seen the telescopes. They're beautiful. I mean, it's just the most amazing roll-off roof observatory system I've seen. When I was there, they had some daytime stuff going on with the solar telescope.
Yep.
Really, you know, the sun's really active right now, so it was really excellent. But I will say that the interpreters that you have there are first rate. I mean, they know their stuff. They make it exciting. They make it appealing to. I mean, there were people there that didn't really know anything about astronomy, but they were curious and captivated.
And that, you know, that's part of the goal of the observatory is to educate, but also entertain. You know, educate in an exciting way and to inspire. You can read a lot of boring data, but
Sure.
to inspire people to, you know, you have to be knowledgeable and to have that energy. And being, you know, having a university, Northern Arizona University nearby, where there's a lot of astronomy students, you know, it's great because they can hone their communication skills while they have all the scientific knowledge they're just bursting to share.
Sure.
And so it's a really great, you know, opportunity for everybody.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So when I was at your booth a little bit earlier, I noticed that you had the Robert Burnham, the 3-volume set.
Right.
There. And he wrote that, right, at Lowell
Right.
Observatory.
I don't know if the camera's on or not, but
Yeah, here, let me
okay.
switch. Let me switch cameras here. Thanks. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, I thank the audience for letting us kind of do
Right,
this, but
yeah.
that's very cool.
yeah, so
Okay.
this 2,000-page opus that Robert Burnham Jr. wrote, yeah, he was working at the observatory. He did this in his spare time.
Wow.
I mean, he was working on a proper motion survey for 2 decades. And while not doing that, this is a thing that he started just for his own sake to kind of keep track of notes he took. And, you know, so he had information about each constellation. And it grew into this 2,000-page, you
It
know,
was typed by hand, right?
by hand. Yeah. And we have his typewriter. In fact, it's going to be part of a new display.
Oh, wow.
And initially, they were all loose leaf. And so the original versions of these are in loose leaf folders. And he would have kids of the astronomers help him they lay these out on tables and collate them and put them into folders whenever he got an order. And then he finally sold the rights to Dover. And
Yeah.
these are the volumes that people are familiar with.
Can you still get the books today?
You can, I don't know if they're in print per se, but you can still find them pretty easily.
Yeah.
And they're, while some of the scientific data needs to be updated, a lot of it, distances and all sorts of things, but they're Bibles.
The way he describes each
Yeah.
object and the scale of the universe and all the rest of it, I would have loved to have met the guy.
Yeah, and and that's one of the things we're going to talk about on August 13th. We're doing a program at the observatory, but it's also going to be live streamed, so anybody can join it for free.
Great.
And we're going to have astronomy historian Bill Sheehan
Okay.
and Brian Skiff, a
Oh, right.
very recognized
Famous
astronomer.
people.
Yeah, and Robert Burnham's only living relative, a niece,
Oh, wow.
and then Tony Ortega, and her name is Donna Courtney, his only living relative, and Tony Ortega, who is the journalist who figured out what happened to Robert Burnham Jr. ending up, in the streets of San Diego.
I remember following that myself.
So we're going to have those four as part of the panel to discuss Robert Burnham Jr. and kind of the triumph and tragedy of his life.
Well, I am so happy that Lowell Observatory is doing something that, that showcases him in a venerable way, because there was a once upon a time when every amateur astronomer had a 3-volume set. I have owned a couple of sets myself.
I grew up with this myself. I started in astronomy when I was 7 and got my first telescope.
Wow.
And,
That's awesome.
by the time I was a teenager, I had, the 3-volume set, and it blew my mind coming to Lowell a few years ago, realizing that most of the images in these books were taken with the Pluto Discovery Telescope at Lowell. It's the same telescope that he was.
And there's some beautiful images.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
All in black and white, but still.
Yeah, when you consider, when it was done of the times, it's a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And, through the years, there's talk about,
masterpiece,
right. And there's talk through the years of, somebody needs to update it, but I think it would take an army of people.
Yeah, to do the whole sky.
Yeah.
It's all 88 constellations, as I recall.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the southern hemisphere sky, the images for that, where did they come from?
I'm not sure, actually. I have to look back and look in those and see.
Sure.
But yeah, it's such a magnificent reference. And, if I write an article about something, I reference it all the time.
Right.
Because like you said, the way he writes, and he brought up information about ancient coins and just things that you would never connect to.
Yeah, he took like cultural references and
Yes,
stuff.
right.
You get fascinating information about how far away something is or spectrally what's going on, these kinds of things. But this guy was poetic and brought together all that rich history and in context. I think anybody could understand.
And it's a neat way of thinking about Lowell. I mean, we've been around for 130 years or roughly, and you think it's a professional research facility, and our astronomers today, like Will Grundy, who's involved with the New Horizons mission, plays a leading role with that. But then if you look at the observatory, there's also essentially the amateur astronomers. Percival Lowell was self-trained. Clyde Tombaugh, who discovered Pluto, was self-trained. And Robert Burnham was self-trained. They came to the observatory and put that self-training to amazing results. And so it's this mix of, professionally trained astronomers, but this Robert Burnham and Clyde Tombaugh, and they show that, you put your mind to something, you can make it happen, even if you don't have that special training up front.
That's very cool. That's very cool. But I appreciate you guys being here and doing this little live broadcast with us. And you're giving your presentation tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep, just before lunch.
About what time?
12:15.
12:15.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Mountain Time. If you guys can get down here to the Alcon event, we're in the Embassy Suites in Albuquerque, and there's still seats left. So thanks guys.
Scott. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks.
The heliophysics big year is a global celebration of solar science and the sun's influence on Earth and throughout the solar system. And we want you to be a part of it. We challenge you to participate in as many sun science activities as possible, beginning with the annular eclipse in 2023 and ending with Parker Solar Probe's closest approach to the sun in
Awesome. That
December
was fun.
2024. Space is
We
increasingly
need to get
part
you an
of
office
the
at the
human domain.
observatory.
By studying the sun's influence in space and its interactions with planets, we learn how to better protect astronauts and robotic missions from space weather, and to develop technology that protects the very infrastructure we rely on here on Earth, such as power grids and GPS signals. NASA's Heliophysics division studies the sun's influence on everything in our solar system, from the very core of the sun to the very edge where the sun's atmosphere meets interstellar space. We have 20 heliophysics missions that are operational and 14 more under development. The Heliophysics Big Year will highlight the work that we're doing to understand our star and to mitigate the effects of space weather. The Big Year is a concept that originated with citizen scientists in the bird-watching community. During their Big Year, birders attempt to observe and study as many species as possible during a calendar year, and we are challenging you to do the same with our sun. During the Heliophysics Big Year, you will have the opportunity to participate in many solar science events, like watching solar eclipses, experiencing an aurora, participating in citizen science projects, and lots of other fun sun-related activities. So please be sure to look out for opportunities to be part of our Heliophysics Big Year.
How you doing?
I have another guy waiting in the wings here for.
Oh, I didn't show up for the interview. I just showed up to say hi. How's it going? I had to get up and move around. It's so cold in there. Yeah. Build myself a cookie.